cash to help us get by.
Maybe we should go to 27cash.com.
With our bad credit,
27cash.com is one of the largest personal loan networks. They can help people with any type of credit get up to $5,000, and cash can hit our bank account as soon as tomorrow.
When you need extra cash, go to 27cash.com. That's 27cash.com. 27cash.com.
Struggling with back taxes or unfiled returns? Owe the IRS $10,000 or more? With the IRS ramping up enforcement, taxpayers across the country are turning to tax relief helpers. Call 800-885-0622 now. End IRS stress today. Stop collection efforts, wage garnishments, and sleepless nights. Tax relief helpers can help you or your business settle your tax debt quickly and affordably. Call the Tax Relief Helpers hotline at 800-885-0622. That's 800-885-0622. Start your relief today.
The measles outbreak in Texas is now up to at least 146 cases, now including Austin. Health officials confirm the cases in a toddler who recently traveled internationally. Austin Mayor Kirk Watson.
I want to emphasize to everyone listening that vaccination remains the best defense against this highly contagious and deadly disease.
Austin's second measles case in more than 30 years, officials say. A terrifying scene in the streets above New York City today. Firefighters raced to save two people hanging from outside a skyscraper. ABC's Stephanie Ramos.
Two window washers not secured to safety lines swinging out of control off the 78th floor of a skyscraper in Columbus Circle. Their scaffolding swinging in the wind, nearly 700 feet in the air, smashing apartment windows with residents inside. Razor-sharp glass raining down on the street below. Firefighters racing to the scene, breaking windows to pull both workers to safety less than 20 minutes later.
Microsoft hanging up Skype. The company bought the video calling service in 2011 for $8.5 billion. The tech giant says it will retire Skype in May and shift some services to its newer video conferencing platform, Microsoft Teams. Company says Skype users will be able to use their existing accounts to log on to Teams. Chuck Sievertson, ABC News.
Offer not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Honey, the credit card bill came, and we're maxed out.
maxed out cards, rent is due. We just need some extra cash to help us get by.
Maybe we should go to 27cash.com.
With our bad credit,
27cash.com is one of the largest personal loan networks. They can help people with any type of credit get up to $5,000, and cash can hit our bank account as soon as tomorrow.
When you need extra cash, go to 27cash.com. That's 27cash.com. 27cash.com.
Team up with the Brewers for an epic company event this season. Gather your crew of just 15 or more for a Brewers group outing and trade weekday meetings for a fun-filled day at American Family Field. Featuring options like tailgate spaces, all-inclusive areas, seating blocks, and more. Plus, Brewers ticket representatives will make planning your event easy, as they'll be your concierge while you book your event. Start planning your company outing today at brewers.com/groups.
Just like most cars and trucks can't run without oil, no person can function without food. That's why, through March 1st, the Auto Dealers of Metro Milwaukee is contributing $1 from every oil change to Feeding America, Eastern Wisconsin. Every dollar provides 3 healthy meals. Over the past 14 years, Adam has provided more than 2.6 million meals to people in southeast Wisconsin. And now, the need is greater than ever. Find a participating Adam dealer near you at adamm.com.
Hurry into Menards and save big money on your appliance upgrade. You need reliable and energy-efficient appliances to conquer the day. Menards is your one-stop shop with the largest in-stock appliance selection ready to take home today. Check out our top appliance brands including KitchenAid, Whirlpool, Maytag, Amana, and Criterion. Save big money on all appliances at Menards and check out our weekly flyer on menards.com for all the great deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards.
Are you worried about running out of money in retirement? Wondering about how to pay less taxes? Join me, Tony Drake, for the Retirement Ready Show live every Saturday at noon and Sunday at 7 a.m. on WTMJ 620 or 103.3 FM. We'll talk about smart strategies to help you retire with confidence. Don't miss it.
Drake & Associates LLC is an independent investment advisory firm that offers a variety of different investment vehicles. This commercial is provided for informational purposes only and should not be construed as individual investment advice. Drake & Associates LLC does not provide legal or tax advice. Past performance is not indicative of future performance.
Baseball season is fast approaching, and the Brew Crew are getting ready for a run at a third straight NL Central title.
It is gone!
This is Brewers Weekly, live from spring training from sunny Phoenix, Arizona. Here's your host, Dominic Cotroneo.
Okay, one more show on a busy week here in Phoenix. Welcome in, everybody. We are with you until 10 o'clock tonight back home in Wisconsin. I'm Dominic Cotroneo. Thanks for joining us. Let's have some fun. This is a sort of Mod Podge of everything that this week has held as far as guests and what we want to talk about. We'll start getting into a little more game-centered stuff here in the next couple of weeks, too. Today, we're going to have an extended interview with Matt Arnold coming up in just a little bit. We will hear from Mark Canha. We will hear from Craig Yoho, and we will also hear from Willy Adames as the Brewers today faced the Giants and saw their old friend Willy in black and orange, which still looked very, very odd. We got a chance to catch up with him once he exited the game. Learned about his departure. He had some glowing things to say about Bob Uecker. Can't wait for you to hear some of those quotes. And we'll talk a little bit about what the future holds for the Crew on the infield and just some thoughts that I'm trying to organize after leaving that media session with Willy Adames. If you want to join the program here tonight, this is our last one live here for a little while because we have some Bucks conflicts on the way. The phone number, 855-616-1620. Again, the phone number is 855-616-1620. And you can join us here on the program. You can text, you can call, we can have some fun. I will warn you, the Matt Arnold interview is pre-taped, and it's a pretty lengthy conversation, but that's the point. And it's meant to live in our podcast feeds as well as it's going off live. So if you're not familiar with the podcast, Brewers All Access is where you get the podcast. That's also where you see some of our special edition audio, like the Reese Hoskins interview, the Aaron Ashby interview that are standing alone. You can just listen to those. You don't have to listen to the entire show. But, hey, I would love it if you listen to the entire show and hang out with us here tonight and have your thoughts, questions, concerns aired out here on the program. I'd love to get to you guys. You can tweet me as well at Dom, D-O-M, _COTRONEO. Let's get to some headlines, and then we'll talk to Matt Arnold, general manager of the Milwaukee Brewers. The Brewers did make it official earlier this week. Mark Canha is back with the Crew. We will play some cuts from him a little bit later on in the show. And Canha actually played today against the Giants, so revenge game. Oh, my goodness, right? Well, he is back officially on a minor league deal as a non-roster invitee to the Crew. A reminder from Wednesday's show, what does that mean? That means he needs to make the team outright. Otherwise, he's headed to the minors because it is a minor league deal. Today was his first time seeing live pitching since the season ended last year. He DH'd. He went 0 for 3 with a strikeout. It's spring training. We're not going to overreact. We also saw the first action of Manny Margot today, who was also signed on a similar non-roster minor league deal. He went 1 for 3 with a strikeout today, too. This outfield picture is really not that cloudy. We know who the four main characters are going to be in the absence of Blake Perkins. We know it's going to be some combination of Sal Frelick or Garrett Mitchell in center, and then some combination of Sal, Jackson, and Yelly filling out the corners, and also potentially the DH spot. That is something to be figured out. And we'll talk about Canha a little bit later on and how he fits in that outfield picture, if he does at all. While we're at it, let's talk about today's game. It wasn't pretty. 9-2, San Francisco defeated Milwaukee today. It was really an opening day lineup for the Giants today. Logan Webb had the start. Lamont Wade, Willy Adames, Patrick Bailey, Matt Chapman, Wilmer Flores, Mike Yastrzemski, Tyler Fitzgerald, Luis Matos, and then Marco Luciano. That 7 of those 9 are going to be in the opening day roster, opening day lineup, really, for the San Francisco Giants, including their opening day starter, Logan Webb. Freddie Peralta had the ball for the Crew. He gave up 2 home runs, and that was really it. He hung a breaking ball, in his own words, to Matt Chapman. He wants that one back, but the home run that Wilmer Flores hit in back-to-back fashion, he tips his cat, say he hit it, he was ready to go. Velocity was good for Freddie, 96 miles an hour, touched 97 once or twice. Saw a little bit of everything today, but we also saw the patented Freddie Peralta inning in the first where he was blowing the doors off the place. 2 strikes quickly, and then a full count battle of a walk by Bailey, which led to the hanging breaking ball and a homer by Chapman, then the back-to-back by Willer. But other than that, the second inning was much calmer for Freddie Peralta in a 1-2-3 fashion. He also added another strikeout in that frame. He said he feels great, body feels good, and there's no reason to overreact to 2 innings from Freddie Peralta in spring training. Another note from today's pitchers, Trevor McGill gave up a home run in this one. That one was off of by Lamont Wade Jr. This was his first action live against an opposing team this spring for Trevor. He had a slow start to camp, but good to see him back on the mound. He had 1 strikeout in addition to that home run. Brian Hudson did not have his best stuff today. He had 3 walks and did not escape the 4th inning. He faced 6 batters, reached his pitch count, and had to exit. And then it was mostly the minor leaguers from there. We also did see Chad Patrick. He went 2 innings, 2 hits, a run. He also struck out 4, and I have to put a hand up here. I didn't watch any of Chad Patrick because we were in the clubhouse talking to Willie Adames. So you'll hear that audio from Willie. A little bit later, I'll catch up with Chad Patrick and Logan Henderson at some point later this camp. And Logan Henderson, while we're on it, yesterday on Thursday in his 2 innings of work, really blew the doors off the place. Granted, to be fair, he was facing the Baby Royals. He was facing all the line change. He wasn't facing Bobby Witt Jr. and Vinny Pasquantino, and I'm not trying to take anything away from Logan's performance, but the fact that he's gone 3 shutout innings, he went 6 up and 6 down yesterday, he continues to turn some heads with his changeup fastball. His velo is up to 95 miles an hour. That is not where he was sitting in AAA Nashville last year. As this 5th starter competition continues to heat up, we'll break down all of the characters that are involved in that 5th starter battle a little bit later on in the program. But for the next 3 segments, we're going to hear from General Manager Matt Arnold about the offseason, about the payroll, about Yelly, about plenty of things, and a very interesting look at how the Brewers get things done despite the constant doubt from the prognosticators in the world. And that was the number 1 question we saw today. In fact, we caught up as a media group with Zach Manassian, former front office employee of the Brewers in Doug Melvin's crew. I've known Zach since I was like 2 feet tall when he was with the Texas Rangers organization. We've known the Manassian family for a very long time. And, of course, his brother Perry is the general manager of the Los Angeles Angels, becoming the first brothers ever to be holding GM positions at the same time. That was cool to catch up with Zach today, but one of the questions is like, so you guys can be pretty good still, huh? Or are you? It's the question that is confounding everybody in the industry. And perhaps maybe Matt Arnold will find a way to express that, the doubt isn't real and make sure that don't lose sight of these Brew Crew. We'll talk to Matt Arnold coming up next. 855-616-1620 is the phone number. Again, 855-616-1620. Right here on your home of the Brewers, 620 WTMJ.
This change has leveled us up while being able to maintain the same quality of service that we've always provided, with no upfront fees and 1.9% real estate commission. We're proud to be part of the Century 21 family, so you can move fearlessly with the added confidence of top-of-the-line marketing for maximum home exposure. And that means more eyeballs and the real potential for the highest price for your home. This is Angela Calais with Century 21 Benefit Realty, benefit-realty.com, where you pay less for full service. Each office is independently owned and operated. With the ability to market luxury homes on a higher scale than ever before, Century 21 Benefit Realty has taken a huge step forward to tap into a global network of buyers. Maximum exposure to spotlight your unique home with our fine homes and estates marketing so you can sell it for the highest price. And with no upfront fees and 1.9% real estate commission, you win. This is Angela Calais with Century 21 Benefit Realty, benefit-realty.com, where you pay less for full service. Each office is independently owned and operated.
We keep you safe, warm, and dry. Semper-Fi.
SemperFiRoofing.com.
Hi, this is John Neal, CPA, founder of Right Choice Tax Resolution and best-selling author on how to have less stress with the IRS. We have talked with a number of new clients who told us the same story. They had a tax situation and went with one of those national firms with the TV and radio ads. They guarantee they can settle your tax owed for pennies on the dollar. They take a $10,000 fee up front, and then you never hear from them again. We are a local firm and just want to help you resolve your situation so you can get on with your life. Don't let your bank account get wiped out, your paycheck or Social Security check get garnished, or a lien put on your house so you can't sell it or get refinanced. The state can
even put a hold on your occupational license. Make the right choice and call 844-222-1192 or visit rightchoicetax.us today. Schedule a free meeting so we can talk and come up with a plan to solve your situation right now. It will not go away if you bury your head in the sand. Call now, 844-222-1192 or visit rightchoicetax.us.
This is Brewers Weekly on WTMJ.
Matt Arnold joining us here in just a moment. The 3-time Executive of the Year. Now, there's a funny picture in the office of Pat Murphy that has Matt Arnold's face superimposed onto Muhammad Ali. You know, the famous shot is Frazier's down and Muhammad's like punching and excited and everything. And like they put Matt Arnold like 3-time Executive of the Year. And we did not talk about that at all. I mean, I think Matt's kind of sick of talking about it because all that really matters to him is the ring. And it's cool to be 3-time Executive of the Year. You'll hear his passion come through in this interview of just, man, they've come so close. They've been gut-wrenchingly close, especially last year. We talk about a lot of things. We talk about the projections. We talk about his new addition. So without further ado, here's our first of 3 segments with Matt Arnold. Nestor Cortez just threw a live in front of us.
Yeah.
Big acquisition for you. Caleb Durbin has been playing third. He's been playing all over. And, you know, when you sit and listen, Tyler Alexander pitched yesterday. And you sit and listen, it's like, okay, you've got Elvin and you've got Davey, and it's kind of the end of the acquisition list for you guys. How did you make of the offseason as far as free agency? Sometimes it's overblown, of what the Brewers added this season.
Yeah, look, I think a lot of times when you're working through your off season, it's about what you have, first of all. You have to assess what you have and then what's in the inventory currently. And I think we have a lot of young players. And one of the big things, the benefits of going through a season like we did last year, example of somebody like Jackson Chourio at the start of the season struggles. At the end of the season, he turns into the Jackson Chourio that we all hoped we would see, right? But the process of that takes time. And I think when we see our young guys like Sal Frelick at the end of the season, Garrett Mitchell at the end of the season, et cetera, just giving our young players exposure like that is really important. And so sometimes you have to balance that with what you want to bring in externally and giving them opportunities to make sure that they can play. So I think we tried to balance that a little bit, and we really like our young group. And so we want to give those guys runway. We also have some interesting guys in-house that we like that have a chance to help us. Certainly can't replace a guy like Willie Adames, but I think we have some young, interesting guys there to give a chance to as well.
You mentioned the in-house and how much you have. I know you have your own projection system. Every team has their own, what they think, and then the other folks at Pacoda and Fangraphs, they share what they think, and it tends to be pile on the Brewers. I know you're not going to reveal the Chamber of Secrets, but how different is your projection versus what we face in the public?
You know, it's interesting. I don't know what to make of those sometimes. I mean, I think they're interesting, right? I'm sure smart people are working on theirs and smart people are working on ours. And you know, you talk to guys from other teams and what they view of the industry, et cetera. And so we all take a different lens at this. And I think that's healthy, you know, in a way where we can look at those projections and say, hey, maybe there's something that we're missing, right? I think that it sort of gets to the how is the most important thing from our perspective, making sure we're not missing anything. So we like to try to dig into those. Try not to put too much pressure in either direction. You know, we're continuing to do good work on those to make sure that we improve those. But again, projections are one thing. Actually delivering on results is something very different.
So how do you do it every year where you over-deliver on the expectations? And I talked to Reese about this on Wednesday, where it seems like the national writers are okay at the end of the year to finally turn back around. It's like, wow, they did it again. But at this time of year, they refuse to acknowledge that could happen, that the Brewers could once again win the division and once again outperform projections.
Yeah, look, I think a lot of times the projections are a helpful guide. There's no question about that. I also think they don't always account for the human element, you know, and I think how we play the game, the way we manufacture runs, the way we play baseball, again, driven by guys like Pat Murphy, Ricky Weeks, et cetera. And then also the type of players that we have. I think our guys get the most out of their ability, you know, and sometimes that doesn't show up in a projection.
It's a team that is built on a stat that isn't necessarily projection sexy in stolen bases and ball in play and lack of strikeouts or trying to limit the strikeouts. Do you feel that the way that you've assembled this roster is meant to, I don't want to say exploit is the right word, but just sort of the environment we're in is stolen bases are good defense is good, and yeah, homers are still cool and all, but you've really leaned into the first two that I mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think we've built, in the 10 years, this is my 10th year here, I think we've built teams in very different ways. We've won very different ways, right? And I think, the backbone by and large has been pitching and defense for a number of years. We've had teams that hit more home runs. I think right now we have a very athletic team. You think back to the teams in the mid 80s with like the Cardinals and Royals, et cetera, like how they moved. We love athletes, right? And so I think our scouting department does a tremendous job identifying those guys. We saw Braylon Payne the other day in a game. He's super excited. I mean, we love that kind of player. And so now those guys are starting to graduate into the major leagues, and we're seeing that athleticism show up and really in dynamic ways and help us score runs across the season.
Does the youth of this team worry you? I know you want to give them opportunities, but at the end of the day, Joey's had a season and a cup of coffee. Sal's had a season and a half. Garrett, we can go on and on about his injury history. There is still a lot potentially untapped, but also unknown with your team right now.
Yeah, I think I think that's a great point, and I think it's something that gives you pause. Certainly, I think you always want to have this balance. I mean, the fact that I think we do have some of that balance to some degree when you think about guys like Churio, like you mentioned, the progress on a lot of those young guys, and then it's balanced hopefully with guys like Rhys Hoskins, Christian Yelich, Brandon Woodruff, who we just saw outside. You have that veteran presence so that it is well balanced, because I think if you're too far tilted in either direction, it's probably not a great setup overall. So while we do have some of that unknown, I think that you're talking about, I think it's well balanced with some veteran presence.
I've gone too far into this interview without mentioning Christian Yelich. I think I'm obligated to at least say Christian Yelich's name by this point in any podcast with you. I want to go back to last year. The day that he got the surgery and the day that you knew he's not going to be in the picture for the rest of this season, and let's hope he's ready for opening day. Going back to that day to here we are now, 4 weeks away, are you satisfied? Are you happy that it's worked out the way it's worked out so far? I know we haven't seen Yelly in a game yet, but could you have imagined it going the way it's gone so far?
Yeah, I mean, just looking backwards a little bit on what that was like for him, honestly, that was really hard. So, not to open up a wound there, but yeah, that was really tough as we're in the playoff hunt and you have arguably the best player on the team and an all-star, et cetera, going down. That's a big gut punch to this franchise, no question. And so at that moment, certainly challenging, certainly tough for us to process, really hard for him more than anyone else. I mean, we're all around him every day and know how much he cares, know how much he was trying certainly to come back, and it just wasn't there for him. And I saw him working hard. So going from that point there to fast forward to today where he's in a IBP and feels great, looks great. I mean, I can't even tell you how great that feels. It really does. I'm really excited for Christian this year.
There's the apprehension of like, okay, back surgery. Oh, goodness. We have heard about back surgery that it's, some guys never the same after this. Or it's like, but this isn't, I'm not trying to downplay it. This wasn't a fusion. This wasn't super like, oh my gosh, we need to get a neurosurgeon in here because this is going to connect to his spinal cord. I'm not trying to downplay a back surgery. That being said, it was about the timeline, it felt like, where it never matched up with the baseball season. Is that why it ultimately came to this point for him, do you think?
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, he had to balance that, like wanting to contribute last year and maybe not at 100% versus being able to come into camp and feel great going into this season, right? And I think that was the real trade-off for him. And as much as he wanted to help us last year, which there's no question this guy was really hurting and wanted to be a part of that, coming into the season feeling great, looking great, moving great, all those things is really important to him, and just having that frame of mind for him that he can go back to what he has been, especially coming back full circle to what he became last year again as an all-star, is just something that's super exciting for all of us.
That's exactly what I was going to get at. I mean, he still performed last year before ultimately having his season cut short, and I imagine that plays into these projections we're talking about. It's like, man, can we have that version of Christian Yelich? I'm not saying it's going to be a 330 and nearly a 450 on base, whatever it is, the whole season, but you can imagine if he can play 135 to 150 games, those numbers are going to look a lot better, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and anytime you have that guy, even just his presence in the lineup, and wherever he ends up hitting, where Murph wants him, he is a dynamic at bat. He can move a runner if you need to. He can put a ball through the right side if there's a runner on first, go first to third. He can hit a ball 500 feet, as we've seen him do in places. So like he just does so many different things. Draw a walk, be dynamic. He's one of the best base runners I've ever seen. I mean, this guy goes first to third, steals bases, first to home on a double, like as cuts corners as well as anyone I've ever seen. And just having that kind of presence at the top of our lineup is really exciting.
Back with more Brewers Weekly after this.
I'm Libby Collins. So many families have been affected by Alzheimer's and dementia. This week on WTMJ Conversations, we take an in-depth look at a study that has taken over 40 years with Sister Charlene Zizek.
We always believe that after death we don't need our brain, and so they saw that as a way to contribute.
WTMJ Conversations, Sunday mornings at 11 on WTMJ. The pulse of the Milwaukee Bucks, straight from a Bucks legend.
Can't get it off. Marcus Johnson will, though. Can't leave him alone for a 12.
Tap into Here District with Marcus Johnson on Bucks Plus. Marcus and his son Chris offer a weekly beat on Bucks basketball. Get your questions answered and hear from the biggest names in basketball. Find Here District with Marcus Johnson at bucks.com/plus on the Bucks app or wherever you get your podcasts.
AccuNet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID 255368.
This is Chief Anti-Heartbreak Officer Brian Wickert. While national headlines talk about the inventory of homes for sale being a lot higher this year, that's still not the case in most of Wisconsin. The good news is that now, even in winter, AccuNet's experienced loan consultants are already helping many of our pre-approved home shoppers become homeowners and avoid the heartbreak of losing in a multi-offer situation. Sure, you can go with a flimsy, unimaginative bank pre-approval, or you can present your offer with an AccuNet rock-solid, fully verified, and guaranteed pre-approval that also might come with the phrase that really makes sellers happy: no appraisal required. When an appraisal is needed, we can also show you in dollars and cents what it means to willingly pay a certain dollar amount over the appraised value if that's what's needed to win, which is usually a lot less scary than people imagine. Reduce your risk of home shopper heartbreak by getting started with your rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval at AccuNet.com. That's ACCUNET.com.
Hey, Wisconsin, WTMJ's Greg Matzik here for Holiday Mazda in Fond du Lac, where the once-a-year auto show sales event is on. Prime time to explore all that's new and score great offers and special savings to get more Mazda for your money and more for your trade. Connect with Holiday for expert help, their low simplified price, and $500 auto show bonus cash on new 2025s. Stackable with offers like low 2.9% 5-year financing for well-qualified buyers on most models, including Mazda CX-30, CX-5, and CX-50. How about the 2-row Mazda CX-70 and 3-row Mazda CX-90? Save even more if you or someone in your household already drives Mazda with owner loyalty rewards. Get qualifying details today and enjoy the award-winning guest care at Wisconsin's #1. It's the stuff that makes fans of drivers from all over the Badger State, and I'm one of them. Find yours and discover the difference at Holiday Mazda in Fond du Lac and holidaymazda.com. It's worth the trip.
It's Brewers Weekly on WTMJ.
More with Matt Arnold here on Brewers Weekly. I'm Dom Cotroneo. Thanks for joining us here tonight. This is segment 2 of 3. More about Yelly and a little bit about the payroll as well. With Matt Arnold joining us here on WTMJ, we thank him for his time, and let's get right back into the interview. I don't know how much of a baseball historian you are, if you look back at all, but I've been doing a lot of reading this offseason, and I just realized, and it's a bit of an overreaction, so you can take this with a grain of salt, that in demeanor, in style of play, in what works, reading a lot about Joe DiMaggio and about what kind of player he was, I didn't know how great of a base runner he was, and all the Yankees press wrote about him being a great base runner. Quiet guy to the media, but understood when he had to give a quote. Quiet leader to the team. And I'm just like, I'm not saying he's Joe DiMaggio in 56 games in a row, but I'm just like, I think that's a great compliment that I can see Joe DiMaggio, as somebody who never watched him play, like I can imagine what Christian Yelich's game is like is an all-time great in this game.
Yeah, look, I didn't see him play either, but I can tell you that, just having been around Christian now for a while here, I really think, to your point, he's like really grown into this leadership role, and it's really quiet. It's humble. It's with a ton of humility, and he's never been the rah guy in front of you. And to get up in front of the team, that just really hasn't been his thing. But I will say, like, now he's growing into that in a way where he's not going to do that super vocally, but he does it with how he prepares, how he everything in the game. I think just how he plays the game. And, he is willing to stand up more than I've ever seen him in the past. And I think that is the emergence of that type of Christian Yelich leadership that we love.
I mean, he went from you're the guy being acquired to help take this team to the promised land in 18, and you had the veterans like Moose and Locaine. I can even bring up Kratz on that list, too, of guys that have been there and like, here's how you do it, kid. And now he's trying to bring that down to the next guys that are starting to arrive and come into their own, because it is hard to be an everyday player in the modern game like Christian. It really is.
Completely agree. Yeah, and I think that's a great point. I think Ryan Braun was part of that too, right? That whole group of veteran guys. They provide shade to the young guys, so to speak. And I think Yelly provides that kind of shade to all these young guys, exactly what you're talking about. And I actually see it. I mean, you see him staying late around the ballpark, staying and eating meals with these guys, hanging out, talking to them after the games, before the game on the field. Like, he really does provide that shade to a lot of these young guys in a great way that those guys did for him.
Let's talk about another leader that I feel like with Willie's departure, we undervalue Freddie's leadership. And I think one of the simplest ways you have to remember about his leadership, the dude's bilingual. That's not something to be glossed over. Yeah. And as somebody that can show the young players of what he came from, we all know the story of what a success story it is of Freddie Peralta. Prove to your kids in the DR in a brand new complex, like, look at me. Mm-hmm. I can do this too, and so can you. How important is having Freddie around?
Absolutely. I think you're right. I mean, certainly the loss of somebody like Willie is really, really tough for all of us, certainly, especially the point you're making about the leadership. But Freddie deserves as much credit for his leadership last year as anybody, especially with the development of somebody like Jackson Chourio. Took him under his wing, spent minutes with him. There were really tough times. We all know about those moments. And again, those are expected for a young player. But exactly what you're saying, the time and minutes that Freddie was willing and able to spend with somebody like Jackson, having been through it in his own journey, and showing him, hey, this is how you're going to get through this, and you're going to be just fine, putting his arm around him when he needed it, pushing him when he needed to, it both, like, being both sides of that as a leader, I thought was just phenomenal. He's as good as it gets.
Like that week that I'm thinking of is when the ball in Miami that Jackson didn't get to, and then a week later, the ball at home against Chicago they didn't get to. And then we see Freddie pull him up the tunnel. How do you react to seeing that and then getting the debrief after the game from what actually happened and like, okay, I hope this is going to work out, but then it ultimately did?
It's funny. Like, one of the things that a long time ago, I was with the Cincinnati Reds, and one of the things I heard during Sparky Anderson's time in the Big Red Machine, and again, those are tremendous teams, is that Sparky always said that the best teams he had managed themselves in a way where, and he's being humble about that, certainly, because he was tremendous, but a lot of those players, Bench, Morgan Rose, et cetera, all those guys just said, I got it. You know what I mean? It didn't require Sparky to get involved. And so just seeing kind of to that point about how we were successful last year, we won 93 games, that is because of a lot of the leadership that exactly you're pointing out here from a guy like Freddie.
When you went down there and caught up with Freddie after that game, or caught up with Jackson after that game, what was that reaction?
It's great. Honestly, like, it is really neat. And again, everyone gets emotional, especially during games. If you've been around big leaguers at all, they're super, super competitive. There's no way you get to this level without being a freak competitor. And so emotions run high, and sometimes they boil over, right? But I think the fact that you have those guys that also, people know that you genuinely care about each other, that matters the most. And I think you can have those charged conversations in game and still come out and say, hey, man, we're all in this together, I think is great.
93 wins a year ago. It is hard to add wins to a 93-win team, regardless of what the payroll is. I think any team that won 86 games last year, they get a handful of guys. maybe there's a team like that in the division that they get a couple of guys, and let's hope we win 93. You already won 93. So when it comes to the offseason that it was, we talked about the acquisitions at the beginning, but when it comes to, it's not just blindly spend money and we're going to have 97 wins, but how do you assess working with the payroll number that you are given to, okay, a lot of guys are returning, but maybe we can't afford that aisle. How do I make this work?
Yeah, look, I think you can slice this a lot of different ways. I think one of the things that's unique about this team relative to last year is I think we have a little more starting pitching depth, so to speak. I guess like at the moment, and again, that always changes. As you know, we used I think 17 different guys to start a game last year, so it's going to take a village. We all understand that, but now that we have Nestor, you have Brandon Woodruff coming back, you have a more established Tobias Myers. We didn't have Savali at the start of last year, right? And so I think you have these guys that are in line, I think, to help us. Tyler Alexander threw 140 innings last year. I mean, we have guys that can do this, and Aaron Ashby that took a huge step forward last spring. He was in the upper 80s. Now this guy's sitting in the mid 90s with his stuff and has a chance to impact our rotation. That wasn't there a year ago. So I think when you look at all of these guys, especially when it's easy, I think, to point to the losses, but I think there are certainly a number of gains there, I think, especially in our rotation when it comes to our depth there.
Do you ever get sick of having to answer the payroll questions of just like, hey, small market, they're plucky and they're not going to add this guy, but gosh darn it, they won the division again. I mean, it's kind of part of the gig, is it not?
Yeah, it's never. I mean, we're never going to apologize for who we are, and we're going to come out and fight you every night, and that's what we're about. It's never been about winning the offseason. It's never about winning the spending the most. It's about winning baseball games. And we've been able to do that here for a while. I'm very proud of that. It's a huge team of people that are responsible for that. Our coaches, our front office, our scouts, our international group. We have 250 people in this department that really, really care about winning games here in Milwaukee. And so it's never just been about how much we can spend. It's about, all right, this is what the Cubs are. This is what the Cardinals are. How do we go get them? And we're going to fight them every single day. And I'm not really interested in what those numbers say. I'm interested in how we're going to find a way to scratch and claw our way to another division title. And again, hopefully well beyond that.
More Brewers Weekly coming up on WTMJ.
Staying active, essential for overall health. Proper medical support, essential for staying active. WTMJ's Vince Vitrano for Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin. Whether it's keeping a weekend warrior like me on the tennis court or keeping young athletes in the game, you want the best in sports medicine, that's OAW. Surgeons, nurses, and physical therapists help you recover from injury, avoid injury in the future, and enhance performance. Get care 7 days a week. Walk right in at an Ortho ASAP clinic or book an appointment online at orthowisconsin.com.
How would you like to own a jewelry store? Kessler's Diamonds is an employee-owned company.
And Kessler's is growing. Are you the kind of person we're looking for?
Does it make you happy to make other people happy? Are you a problem solver?
Would you like to wake up every morning knowing that you're going to help a lot of people find joy today?
Kessler's Diamonds is people serving people. Keep in mind that Kessler's is owned by its employees. So let me ask you this. Are you a good enough leader that you can be an owner who leads other owners?
Don't worry, you don't have to know about diamonds. We can teach you about diamonds. But the people we're looking for aren't looking for a job.
Did someone pop into your head just now? Do you think you might know who we're looking for?
Give that person a call.
Send them an email. Tell them to walk into Kessler's Diamonds and say to the person who greets them,
I think I want to work here.
Welcome to Kessler's. A fantastic place to buy jewelry and a wonderful place to work.
For the store nearest you, visit KesslersDiamonds.com.
Blaine's Farm and Fleet Spring Workwear event is going on now, and we have a great selection of quality workwear styles at unbeatable prices. Like 30% off men's work and sport pocket tees, $10.49 each. Save $10 on Ariat Rebar Made Tough work pants. New at Blaine's, men's brunch workwear apparel, 25% off. Plus, earn $30 in Carhartt bucks for every $125 spent on Carhartt gear. We've got the value you need to do things your way. Blaine's Farm and Fleet. Being original.
This is Brewers Weekly on WTMJ.
Okay, one more segment here with Matt Arnold. I'm Dom Cotroneo. Really appreciate the time once again. I hope you all have enjoyed this conversation. Let's get back to Matt. I think the biggest point of that, what you just said, is division title. And when the media asked Mark about it a couple weeks ago, where it's like, why not just even pull back even further and go for a wild card since it's expanded? It's always been about the division. It's always been about trying to guarantee your spot in. Wild card can get spicy, as we saw in 19 with how crazy that division was in 19. If you can focus on the division, good things are going to happen.
Yeah, none of us are good enough to say like we can try to just limp into this thing. Like we want to put the best team on the field every single night and win every single night. And I can tell you that very clearly starts from our ownership to me to Pat Murphy. Everyone here desperately wants to win every single night, and I would encourage people to get close to the field because they can feel it. I think when you see it, how our guys are getting ready, even before we play every night, there's an energy around this team that I think is different than a lot of places. And that doesn't happen overnight. That really is part of our culture and our fabric, and we are maniacal about wanting to try to find ways to win here.
A couple more for you, then we'll get you out of here and go watch some baseball. Last year, obviously, gut punch. In Game 3, you had the guy. We all know the story. How do you digest it? I mean, how long does it take for you to just kind of click it off and like, oh my goodness, that actually happened? Are you even able to watch baseball again? And how does the rest of October look for you after that game?
Challenging is what I would say. Yeah, I don't think I watched the next round, to be honest. I had to like take a breath. And I love baseball as much as anyone alive, I think, or close to it, hopefully. And, I love our sport. I love our game. That was tough. I've been doing this is my 25th year. It's probably the hardest loss I've ever been a part of. And when you care that much, it hurts even more. But I started tuning back in, as the playoffs went on and the Padres Dodgers series, got into some of that and obviously followed it the rest of the way. But it's hard. And look, I think some of what you have to take away from those losses is just like, how do we get better, right? It's you can't just sit there and say like, woe is me. That's not an option for us. We have to dig in and find out what can we do better. And I think we really challenged our group to do just that this offseason.
What are the things that you can do better from a front office perspective? Because obviously the game's played on the field, and you just mentioned 250 people running around trying to help the team get better. So what are the things that you point at that you office and Murph and Ricky is arguably the most important, because you need to deliver a message and they needed to massage that message so that the players can digest it. How has that gone in year one and now getting ready for year two?
I think it's great. And look, I think the fact that we see the world differently is awesome. I think it's healthy. I think Murph brings a tradition of winning here, and he's been here, and we've worked together for this is our 10th season together. So I know my partnership with Murph goes way, now back a decade, and I feel like we complement each other extremely well, and I love partnering with him. Getting to know Ricky Weeks and who he is has been phenomenal. Again, just guys like Chris Hook, Jim Henderson. I mean, the opportunity for somebody like Al LaBeouf, who's been in the game for 44 years, to now be a head major league hitting coach, along with Eric Tyson, Connor Dawson. Like, just partnering with our staff, onboarding somebody like Julio Bourbon. It's just really fun to partner with all of those guys. It really is. And so our partnership here has to be seamless in order for us to be good. And I love working with all those guys.
How much were you holding your breath until Chris Hook ultimately decided to return?
I mean, yeah. I mean, when you partner with somebody like Hookie, who I've known a very long time, even before we lived in Northern Kentucky together, going back almost 20 years ago. So used to go get lunch with him way back in the day. Before we worked together. And so I've known him a really long time, and I love Hookie, and I'm glad we were able to work something out, because he's a tremendous asset for this franchise.
Okay, finally, as this will be kind of the end of it all, we are starting a new era for us here on WTMJ without Uke. And I have to ask you about Uke, because I think of the celebrations, obviously, and there's so much downtime from, arrival to the ballpark, batting practice, whatever. Or maybe a day that you're locked into Murph's office and Uke's there telling stories. What are you going to remember most?
A lot. It's funny. He comes up multiple times a day. I mean, honestly, and you know that it's just somebody that we can't possibly even try to replace. It's just a presence, but he's here with us. I feel that because I think his name and his stories come up every single day with us. Miss him a ton. I think it'll probably hit us a little more on opening day. And just throughout the course of the season, when you just come in and sit in the clubhouse or sit in the dugout and tell stories. I mean, I feel it right now. We used to go to a bunch of dinners during spring training, and there are just those kind of moments that kind of flash there for you. But the impact that he had on all of us and everybody that listened to him and welcomed him into their home for years is certainly something that is hard for all of us. It's hard for all of us to process, and still processing it honestly, but miss him a ton. But I know he's still with us every day.
We all miss him, and we all miss Don and Charlie's too.
We do.
Those that corner booth hanging out with you.
As good as it gets, man.
The stories that were at that table there. Rest in peace to Don and Charlie's, and rest in peace to you, of course. But Matt, thank you so much for this time. I joked with Reese as he was on earlier this week. I said, let's do it again at the end of the year with a parade down Wisconsin Avenue, eh?
All in, buddy. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Thank you again.
All right, thanks, Tom. Appreciate you.
Back with more Brewers Weekly after this. When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
WDTMJ's Eric Bilstead here for QC Kinetics. You know, I get a lot of questions about QC Kinetics treatments, people asking if they should consider it for their own joint pain. Well, here's how you know. If you answer yes to any of these questions. Is your quality of life impacted by chronic pain in your knees or hips or shoulders or other joints, trouble sleeping or walking? Do you want to avoid surgery, a long recovery, and uncertainty that comes with it? And most importantly, do you miss doing the things you love because joint pain is holding you back? If you answered yes to any of these questions, don't wait. Call now. Call QC Kinetics and ask for your free consultation and learn how the latest advances in regenerative medicine can help you get lasting relief. No drugs, no surgery, no downtime. 414-285-3474. Call QC Kinetics today for your free consultation. 414-285-3474. That's 414-285-3474. Call QC Kinetics today.
This change has leveled us up while being able to maintain the same quality of service that we've always provided, with no upfront fees and 1.9% real estate commission. We're proud to be part of the Century 21 family, so you can move fearlessly with the added confidence of top-of-the-line marketing for maximum home exposure. And that means more eyeballs and the real potential for the highest price for your home. This is Angela Calais with Century 21 Benefit Realty, benefit-realty.com, where you pay less for full service. Each office is independently owned and operated. First off, our 1.9% commission structure helps get their foot in the door, and that's why agents like working here. But what they really like is having the strongest marketing tools available, with the resources to help them sell homes at the highest prices to satisfy their clients. Century 21 Benefit Realty offers what agents like most, and that's to help them be successful. If you really want to believe in the business model that you're representing, give me a call. I'm Angela Calais with Century 21 Benefit Realty. Call me, and let's talk about your future. Each office is independently owned and operated.
This is Brewers Weekly on WTMJ.
Welcome back. I'm Dominic Cotroneo. We still got a whole nother hour after this as we're approaching the top. We're going to be going until 10 o'clock tonight talking Brewers baseball. We're going to talk a little bit about Craig Yoho. We're going to talk a little bit about Willy Adames in the next segment since we caught up with him. But right now, let's hear from Mark Canha. Yep, he's back on a minor league deal, a non-roster deal. Mark, if you're not familiar, had a great stint with the Brewers in the second half of 2023, so much so that the numbers bore this out. Mark Canha was the most impactful trade deadline acquisition of any team in the 2023 season. In his time in Milwaukee, he combined for an incredible stretch. And the most notable moment was the grand slam against the Nats when the magic number was getting closer to single digits. But in that second half with the Crew, in 50 games, he hit 287. His on base was 373. It created a cool 800 OPS. He had 5 homers in those 50 games. He's not a power hitter. He's a guy that gets on base. He drew 17 walks, only struck out 27 times in 204 plate appearances. If you want to do the math real quick in your head, his strikeout rate was only 13% in his time with the Brewers. He's not guaranteed to make the roster, but he's certainly got some great vibes going off of what he did in 2023.
I loved my last stint here. It was an awesome time for me, and I decided to come back for some more good times. Happy to be back here. I love this group. I love this staff and everything, and it's just a good fit.
He's a good fit because he's not really going to be asked to play outfield with the Brewers unless there's more injuries that happen aside from Blake Perkins. But he can be a backup first baseman. Tyler Black is currently slowed by a sore back. He's fine, but he's a few days behind. He'll get every opportunity to get game reps. But if the Brewers ultimately feel Tyler needs more seasoning defensively at first base, he's, as of now, the backup behind Rhys Hoskins at first base. Do they want to use Mark Canha as the backup at first base and have 2 right-handed first basemen? Black can also pinch run and DH, whatever they ultimately decide to do. But I think they want to give Tyler every day at bats if they can help themselves and get the opportunity to do so. So Canha can prove himself in that regard. He also knows the team extremely well. I mean, him and Yelich were prospects together in the Marlins organization as he rejoins this clubhouse.
Most places are pretty welcoming when you show up and you're the new guy. I have been the last 2 years. It's been a lot familiar feeling for me, but yeah, this particular group I'm just comfortable with. It's super easy to just kind of seamlessly walk in here and just get started, hit the ground running.
And even last year when the Brewers caught up with Canha in Detroit and the Brewers got to see him again, and Detroit wasn't what they became. They weren't yet a playoff contender at that point, but he was really appreciating the style of baseball that the Brewers were playing.
I mean, it was impressive. Nothing surprises me with this group because it's just such a talented group of individuals with so many different skill sets and a super athletic group, especially when you're talking about the position players. So nothing surprises me, but I think it was very impressive what they accomplished last year, and just watching it from the other side, it was like kind of a very different feel than 23. It was like a small ball-y, kind of a lot of space stealing and stuff like that. It was kind of cool to see how they created their own identity, and I think you have to do that every year.
So a thing that Canha has going for him now that he's finally signed, I can't believe it took this long for him to sign, but he is technically a non-roster invitee. He will be in big league camp. I did not get confirmation if he has an out in his contract to then, if he's not on the 40-man roster by a certain date, that he can go seek another opportunity. But another thing that could happen is that there could be an opportunity that pops up where somebody gets injured in a different team's camp and they have a hole that Canha can plug. That's where, if you've heard the legendary stories about $1 trades, that's where something like this could happen, because Canha's spot is not on solid ground right now in the Brewers' depth chart. He could be the backup first baseman. If Tyler Black shows he can handle defensively backup first base, he can do that too. Or even Jake Bauers is also a non-roster invitee on a minor league deal, back with the Brewers, also a familiarity. Jake offers a little bit more positional versatility over Canha in that Bauers can play a corner outfield in a pinch while primarily being a backup first baseman, and he's left-handed for the platoon splits that the Brewers really like to take advantage of. All the while, Canha can perform and force his way onto this roster and prove that he's there, but he is going to have to knock off some rust to make sure he's good to go. It was good to see him in a game today. He's going to take some time. He's going to try to get as many games in as he can in the next 2 weeks and see where he stands. All right, we're going to take a breather. We're going to have the news here at the top of the hour. We're going to re-rack it. We're going to take another commercial. And then on the other side of that, we're going to hear from Willie Adames. We had the reunion tour today in Scottsdale. Back with more Brewers Weekly after this.
Save on the best quality furniture and mattresses during the President's Day sale at Ken Michaels Furniture. With major discounts from our premier suppliers, you will save big bucks on top brands like Bradenton Young, made in the foothills of the Great Smoky Mountains. Bradenton Young is known for its fine quality leather upholstery. Fjords brings you modern Scandinavian design recliners and sofas, ergonomically engineered for more hip and back support. Norwalk, with American roots that go back over 100 years, specializes in making furniture just for you. Choose the piece, style, fabric, or leather you want, and in just 35 days, we'll deliver your new sofa, chair, or sectional. In-stock or special orders are all sale priced. Need a little help putting it all together? At Ken Michaels Furniture, our design staff is ready to help you with your purchases, and it's free. Stop in today and save now during the President's Day sale at Ken Michaels Furniture in Brookfield, Greenfield, or downtown Milwaukee.
Traffic is brought to you by Rejuvenix, your non-surgical joint therapy experts.
If you like being prepared like I do, you know the value of a generator. When the power goes out, it's a terrible inconvenience. And that's why Quality installs effortless whole home generators that give you power when everybody else's is out. This is Anthony Zanevsky from Quality, where you'll get the signature service you deserve and whole home generators that make power outage fears subside.
Call Quality for the signature service you deserve.
Call Quality, heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric. When your pipes burst, water heater's leaking, drains backing up, or whatever your plumbing problem is, the reliable plumbers at Quality are on hand 24/7 to fix your plumbing problem with fully stocked vehicles and lightning-fast response times. This is Anthony Zanevsky. Call Quality first and get the signature service you deserve to fix your plumbing problem ASAP.
Call Quality for the signature service you deserve.
Call Quality, heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric.
WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee. From the Annex Wealth Management Studios, this is News Radio WTMJ, a Good Karma brand station.
What we've found is that when you have workers who feel valued, you get better results. This is why good people and good culture should matter to anyone looking for an exterior remodeling company they can trust. It's going to be your experience and the end result that gives you peace of mind, because you'll know your work was done by people who care. We realized early on that if we were going to change the reputation of this industry for the better, that finding good workers that you could trust to do great work was going to be the key. We're attracting good people every day because we take care of our people. We want to make sure they feel important, because they are. And we're going to make sure you feel important and valued too, with excellent customer service and high quality work. This is Brad Youngbluth with Semper Fi Roofing and Exteriors, your local, veteran-owned and operated exterior remodeling company. For your new roof, siding, window and door installation, or masonry work, you can count on Semper Fi to keep you safe, warm, and dry.
We keep you safe.
From ABC News, I'm Chuck Severson. An explosive argument inside the Oval Office was extended out to a routine photo op at the White House between President Trump and Ukrainian President Zelensky. ABC News Chief White House correspondent Mary Bruce.
Zelensky came to Washington hoping to get Trump to guarantee Ukraine's security if Putin violates the terms of a peace deal. Zelensky trying to bring the temperature down, but Trump berating the wartime leader, instead delivering this ultimatum.
The problem is, I've empowered you to be a tough guy.
Then kicking Zelensky out of the White House, canceling their press conference.
Afterwards, Zelensky went on Fox News to thank the American people and call for diplomacy, and said he always tries to be honest and explain what the situation is at all times. He was asked if Ukraine can win the war without U.S. support.
It will be difficult for us. That's why I'm here. That's why we speak about the future negotiations. It will be difficult without your support, but we can't lose our values, our people. We can't lose our freedom.
The Vatican telling us that 2 weeks into his hospital stay in Rome for pneumonia, Pope Francis had a coughing fit and was put on a ventilator. They say he responded well and remained alert and cooperative. Early blood tests have come back in the investigation of actor Gene Hackman and his wife's deaths at their New Mexico home. ABC's Trevor Ault in Santa Fe, New Mexico, has the latest.
Tonight, authorities investigating the suspicious deaths of legendary actor Gene Hackman and his wife, Betsy Arakawa, say preliminary tests show no sign of carbon monoxide poisoning. Authorities also revealing 95-year-old Hackman had a pacemaker, and an analysis showed its last event was February 17th, more than a week prior, and that may have been the day he died.
The Texas measles outbreak is infecting about 150 people now, according to state health officials. You're listening to ABC News.
Offer not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Honey, the credit card bill came, and we're maxed out.
Maxed out cards, rent is due. We just need some extra cash to help us get by.
Maybe we should go to 27cash.com.
With our bad credit?
27cash.com is one of the largest personal loan networks. They can help people with any type of credit get up to $5,000, and cash can hit our bank account as soon as tomorrow.
When you need extra cash, go to 27cash.com. That's 27cash.com. 27cash.com.
Struggling with back taxes or unfiled returns? Owe the IRS $10,000 or more? With the IRS ramping up enforcement, taxpayers across the country are turning to tax relief helpers. Call 800-885-0622 now. End IRS stress today. Stop collection efforts, wage garnishments, and sleepless nights. Tax relief helpers can help you or your business settle your tax debt quickly and affordably. Call the Tax Relief Helpers hotline at 800-885-0622. That's 800-885-0622. Start your relief today.
An organization called People's Union USA asked consumers to buy locally instead of shopping at large corporations. The group called on Americans not to buy fast food, gas, or at Amazon, Walmart, or Best Buy on Friday.
One of the ways we can demonstrate our power is through our pocketbooks, our purses, our wallets. We don't need to spend money at companies owned by Amazon. We can go elsewhere.
Ted Carroll at a rally in West Hartford, Connecticut. A terrifying scene on the streets above New York City today as firefighters raced to save two people hanging from outside a skyscraper. ABC's Stephanie Ramos.
Two window washers not secured to safety lines swinging out of control off the 78th floor of a skyscraper in Columbus Circle. Their scaffolding swinging in the wind, nearly 700 feet in the air, smashing apartment windows with residents inside. Razor-sharp glass raining down on the street below. Firefighters racing to the scene, breaking windows to pull both workers to safety less than 20 minutes later.
Sources familiar with the matter tell ABC News the interim U.S. Attorney for Washington, D.C. has demoted several senior-level officials who had overseen high-profile January 6 prosecutions and criminal cases against allies of President Trump. At least 7 attorneys have been moved to dealing with misdemeanor crimes and lower-level issues. Chuck Sievertson, ABC News.
Offer not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Honey, the credit card bill came, and we're maxed out.
Maxed out cards, rent is due. We just need some extra cash to help us get by.
Maybe we should go to 27cash.com.
With our bad credit?
27cash.com is one of the largest personal loan networks. They can help people with any type of credit get up to $5,000, and cash can hit our bank account as soon as tomorrow.
When you need extra cash, go to 27cash.com. That's 27cash.com. 27cash.com.
Team up with the Brewers for an epic company event this season. Gather your crew of just 15 or more for a Brewers group outing and trade weekday meetings for a fun-filled day at American Family Field. Featuring options like tailgate spaces, all-inclusive areas, seating blocks, and more. Plus, Brewers ticket representatives will make planning your event easy, as they'll be your concierge while you book your event. Start planning your company outing today at brewers.com/groups.
Kaiser's Snowy Roads Sweetheart Prices sales event is happening now. Remaining 2024 models are priced to go. Looking for a vehicle that can handle our wintry roads? Get yourself a reliable all-wheel drive that can handle anything winter throws at you. With heated seats to top safety features and our exclusive Safe and Sound program, which includes roadside assistance for life, our vehicles are built to keep you cozy with peace of mind, even when the roads get slick. But hurry, our 2024 models are almost gone. So visit Heiser.com today.
See dealer for complete details. She's different and special and loaded with personality.
And there's one more thing, but you can't explain it in words.
She's the one.
She's the one.
The one.
You know it.
Your friends know it.
The whole world knows it.
We curated a special selection of engagement rings for her.
Can you guess what we call it?
We call it the One Collection by Kessler's.
Because these engagement rings are different.
And special.
And loaded with personality.
And one more thing. But you can't explain it in words.
Engagement rings in the One Collection start at just $725.
But some of them are more.
A lot more.
But we've got you covered.
First, we have 12 months financing at 0%. Or
second, we have 36 months financing at 9.99%, both with approved credit.
Third, we have second chance financing if you need someone to give you a second chance.
And don't forget the Kessler's warranty.
The strongest warranty of any jewelry store in the world.
For the location of the Kessler's nearest you, you. Visit KesslersDiamonds.com.
Baseball season is fast approaching, and the Brew Crew are getting ready for a run at a third straight NL Central title.
It is gone!
This is Brewers Weekly, live from spring training from sunny Phoenix, Arizona. Here's your host, Dominic Cotroneo.
Here we go, hour number 2, the last hour of our programming this week. Thank you to everybody who's reached out and tuned in this week. This is a labor of love. I still pinch myself that my job is to talk about baseball. I hope that energy comes out. I really do enjoy it. I thank all of these guys for making some time for, this short bald dude to come up there with a microphone with them. So again, this is really fun for me. I hope it's been fun for you as we're getting closer to Brewers baseball. We are less than 4 weeks away from opening day. That sentence, it's weird. I'm writing my notebook right now. It's going to drop tomorrow, and you can read it over the weekend, where this first week of games, like, we've only been playing games for a week, okay? And at the same time, this week has felt like the slowest week ever. Like, oh my God, will this spring ever end? Like, let's get going to regular season. And at the same time, it's like, oh my gosh, there's no time left. I mean, like, there's like 4 weeks. That's not enough time. Like, it's just so. Time doesn't exist in baseball season, specifically spring training, because you're a zombie half the time. All the games are day games pretty much, and you're just waking up with the sunrise, and then you're going straight to the ballpark, and everyone's still, froggy and leery-eyed and drinking their coffee, and some guys are really happy to see you. Some guys are like, catch me tomorrow. But it's all good. I love it. It's been fun to be back here in spring training. And what I think maybe, needless to say, it's only a weekend, but the highlight of spring training today, and I don't think it's going to be topped by much, is getting to see old friend Willy Adames today. And it did hit to see him in black and orange. It was odd. It was, it looked good on him. Not going to lie. He's looking great in the uniform. Him and Matt Chapman there on the left side of the infield for the San Francisco Giants. We spent a lot of time with Willy today, actually, at the game after he was pulled from it. We got plenty of time with him on the record. We'll play some of that audio here. We also got plenty of time with him just catching up, talking about his Italian vacation this past offseason, a little bit about the process, his favorite spots in Milwaukee, all the little things that he's going to miss in Milwaukee. But nonetheless, he certainly has nothing but positive memories and positive thoughts about his time in Milwaukee, and the way that he had left there is unfortunate, but he understands that he will always have fans in the good land.
Of course it is hard, especially everybody there treating me like I was home, like they always gave me love, fans, staff, players, everybody there treating me like family. So like it's always hard to leave a place that, treat you like that. So like they're always gonna have a special place in my heart, and I'm always gonna have love for them. It's just, at the end of the day, like it comes to business, and sometimes it doesn't go the way that fans want to, but it's just like, you just got to adjust to it.
I hope playing this audio is kind of a bit of closure, because the Brewers will visit San Francisco for a 4-game series in the middle of April, but they won't see the Giants again until August, which will be Willy's return. I mean, this team could look completely different by that time in August if they're in a pennant chase, if it hasn't gone according to plan, whatever it may be. But there is a lot of time between now and the next time the Brewers see Willy Adames. And one of the things that we asked him about, too, and you heard me allude to this with Matt Arnold about Freddie Peralta's leadership and how he learned from Willy Adames, what made Willy such a great leader, and he hopes to have that torch continue to be ignited while he's gone.
Oh, just, let things happen. Let's, just help the kids, the younger guys to understand how, how hard this game is. There's going to be rough times and it's going to be good times. So it's just like, be patient, work hard, have a work ethic, and just, be respectful. At the end of the day, you go out there and compete, have fun, and things are going to work out for you, obviously, if you work hard for it. But it's just that, at the end, it just comes to, like, have a good work ethic and just be a good teammate, and then things are going to play for you.
It's not rocket science of how Willy Adames became such a fan favorite, a teammate favorite, a coaching staff favorite. I mean, quite frankly, we don't play favorites in the media. I'm not going to speak for Todd and for Adam, but being down there today, talking to Willy Adames, it felt like we were just talking to an old friend. It really did. Who just so happens to be an all-star caliber shortstop. They're not all like that, is what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to downplay anybody else in the Brewers organization because we have incredible access to these guys and so many great personalities on this team, but nobody's quite like Willie, and nobody ever will be quite like Willie, just of his just magnetic smile and just incredible personality and all these things. And we did have to, kind of be a Debbie Downer with it all, and, we had to talk about Uke, and we were all fighting back tears by the end of these quotes, and I might be fighting them back again, too, of just the connection of a guy in his 20s who was born in the Dominican Republic, who's bilingual, who joined this team with, a 206 batting average in 2021, and became one of the most beloved Brewers of all time in such a short stint. And Willie actually credited Uke in part that, I was only here for 4 years, but it felt like 15 because of people like Uke that made me feel so welcome here. And we did ask him about Game 3. We've painted the picture a few times now of, I know most folks have never been in the Brewers clubhouse, but there's an office dedicated to Tony Migliaccio and his staff and the chefs and some of the support staff in the clubhouse, and that's generally where Bob would hang out in the clubhouse. There are plenty of chairs around, and you could pull up a chair and hear stories, and there were some legendary stories in those walls. But after Game 3, the guys were in that room more than an hour for a long time, and when they had emerged and tears in their eyes and, they all knew what was coming and they didn't want it to end.
Yeah, it was kind of like a personal stuff, but more like the way that he was speaking, it was very sad, very emotional. He got me crying right away. He said 2 words and I was already crying. So it was very tough, very tough. He was emotional for sure. It was kind of like he was saying goodbye.
He was really vulnerable with us, and I felt bad being the one that made him cry, but this was the answer that really stuck it home for me. We're going to have a story up here shortly on WTMJ.com, and it's going to be in all the headlines, is that what Willie says at the end of this quote is a perfect way to think about what it was like to be around Bob Uecker and how welcoming he was.
It's tough. Obviously, it's something that you don't want to go through, but it's just like how life goes. You don't want to get to that moment. At the end of the day, we all gonna go there. It's just it's devastating when that moment gets to you. So it's tough. Especially with somebody like him that everybody loved him. And that tells you a lot about the person when nobody has something bad to say, about a guy like him. So I'll let you know right there that he was just an angel in earth. It was something special.
An angel on earth. What a sentence. We're gonna miss him, and the fact that he's able to digest all of it and deliver it for us, I so greatly appreciate him making the time for us. And we'll have some infield thoughts, and overall, I do want to say thanks to Willie. I know we've talked about this before on the show previously, but it's just he's a guy that he had been traded twice in his career, from the Tigers to the Rays and the Rays to the Brewers, right? He was the final out of the 2020 World Series, right, in Game 5. He wasn't performing like the prospect hype suggested he was going to be performing at that point in his career when he came over to the Brewers. Again, I'll read the slash line. 197 batting average, 625 OPS in that 2021 season before he arrived in Milwaukee. And he milked every last second he had in Milwaukee. He wanted to be the best that there ever was. I know Brewers fans struggle with the fact that we say all these glowing things about Adames, right? Top 10 in MVP voting last season. The front office, the ownership, everyone says glowing things about Adames, but yet he's still wearing a different team's jerseys, right? I think that's really hard to swallow. I think when you hear this man talk and you listen to him, how much you love Milwaukee, and you get a little disappointed that you couldn't make it work. You really do. And I know it takes two to tango, and we'll never know the full story perhaps, but from the way that Willie spoke and the way that he revered everybody here, man, would have loved to have him stick around, but this is a new era. I don't think the number was ever going to be in the 100 million range for Willie Adames, but He certainly deserves every penny he's got coming to him. And he earned those pennies while wearing a Milwaukee Brewers jersey, okay? I know he ultimately came up short in the playoffs, but the reason why he is set for generations and he's able to be comfortable, he has earned this to be one of the best shortstops in the game. And I'm really excited to see what he can do in a Giants jersey other than the 7 games he does against the Milwaukee Brewers. With that said, let's shift over to kind of a roster preview. Let's talk a little bit about the infield and what to expect for the Crew the rest of spring training. What are we going to be keeping an eye on? A big candidate for third base had a moment today. We'll talk about that next here on 620 WTMJ.
Progressive knows finding your new home was a dream come true. You wanted a Colonial with high ceilings, hardwood floors, and a peaceful neighborhood. And you found it. Now, every Saturday at 6 a.m., you get to wake to the sound of your neighbor's leaf blower. Progressive can't save you from your noisy neighbors, but we can save you money when you bundle your home and auto with us. Get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers not available in all states.
You still thinking job change in the new year?
Yeah, I need something that's in high demand and more stable in this economy.
IT?
Yeah, cybersecurity, maybe even AI.
That's what I did.
Really? How?
Went to My Computer Career. You don't need any prior experience, and you could start your new career in a matter of months. A lot of IT pros go to school there, too, to level up.
Sweet. Are classes online or on campus?
Both.
Wow, I'll check it out. Thanks.
Make this your year. Take the free career evaluation now at mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
You just can't pass on Less is Glass. Find us at lessglassservice.com.
Hi, folks. This is Hank Albert, owner of BBC Lighting. At BBC, we sell all the top brands of lights and ceiling fans, such as Visual Comfort, Tech, Schoenbeck Crystal, and hundreds more. We get every brand, and our prices are the lowest. I guarantee it. In our award-winning showroom, you'll also find factory closeouts with lights and fans priced well below their original cost. If it's lampshades or repairs you need, we do all that too. There's something for everyone at BBC, including fun for the kids and our famous free popcorn. We're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, Saturday, 10 to 4, and located at 20th and St. Paul Avenue, across from Sobelman's, near the Potawatomi Casino. Stay safe and healthy, my friends.
This is Brewers Weekly on WTMJ.
Let's start taking some way too early looks at the roster. I'm Dom Cotroneo, 855-616-1620. If you want to join us, 855-616-1620 is the phone number. You can call, you can text, you can hang out with us here on the program. Today, we saw the first spring training home run for one Caleb Durbin, as the diminutive shortstops and infielders for the Brewers have been really supplying a lot of the power for the Crew. Vinny Capra has 3 home runs already this spring. He played shortstop today. And Durbin added his name to the list for the Crew with his first on a pulled shot off of Logan Webb. Durbin continues to be something or somebody to monitor for the Brewers. But something to remind everybody is just because you were traded for Devin Williams doesn't automatically mean you're going to be on the opening day roster. He's got all 3 options. He has not made his big league debut. Now, this team is still going to have a handful of guys on its roster that have never made their big league debut. Last year it was 12, had never even been on an opening day roster. Whatever the Brewers decide to do with Durbin, it sort of becomes a ripple effect of Durbin at third, Durbin at second. Is Durbin good enough to play third, or do they prefer Oliver Dunn there today? They had Dunn at third base today. Dunn made a couple of really nice plays there too. But it shouldn't come as a surprise that Caleb Durbin currently has the most plate appearances on the Brewers, because they want to find out what they got with him so far this spring. He has been slow to get going. He is 2 for 15. He's got 2 walks and 4 strikeouts. It's spring training. We don't overreact. Know who has the second most plate appearances on the Brewers this spring? Oliver Dunn. You see what they're trying to do here? Ollie Dunn hit a home run in his first spring training action of the season last week. He's had a strong start. He's 5 for 14. It's still very, very early. He looks like a guy that had a little bit of big league time last year, and Durbin is a guy that's still getting comfortable in a brand new organization, trying to find his footing, trying to prove what he can do and win a position battle. But if I had to guess right now in the way too early with 4 weeks to go, if I had to guess, I think the edge is to Oliver Dunn at third base. I don't think they want Oliver Dunn at second base, rather. Definitely don't think that he's a candidate at first base. We haven't seen that yet, but Murph did hint it to us earlier in the spring that we might see it, but I think we would have seen it by now if Ollie was really being considered as a backup first baseman. Dunn with that little bit of big league time and seeing him swing the bat well. And I know some Brewers fans are like, we've seen this before, Dom. He had a great spring last year, too. I get it, but you don't want to overreact to evaluating spring training. Pat Murphy has admitted as such, too. Last spring, Oliver Dunn had 47 plate appearances. He had an on-base of 404 in those 47 plate appearances. It's a very small sample, 282 batting average. He struck out enough. He also drew a handful of walks, 8 walks to 17 strikeouts. He was 5 for 5 in stolen bases. And last year, he was playing through pain that really flared up right at the very end of his time in the big leagues with his back injury that ultimately shelved him for the rest of the season. I think Dunn has the advantage right now, because of the fact that he's already got that big league clock started and he has a little bit of a taste and he's proven that he can do it again. He offers a left-handed bat on the third base side, and that would allow Turang and Ortiz to remain where we kind of project them to be, right, with Joey at short and Turang at second. The way that Durbin plays into all of this is just a hunch. This is not backed by data. This is just from observations. I feel that if Durbin is going to be in the game, he needs to prove it at third. They wouldn't mind putting Durbin at second, Turang at short, and moving Ortiz to third on those days if that becomes an alignment they choose to do. But then it becomes a question, well, would you rather have Durbin, who has not made his big league debut, has all 3 options remaining, or would you rather have Vinny Capra, who has no options remaining, who has performed in solid fashion so far this spring? We mentioned the 3 homers already, but the fact that he has no options means he makes the team. If it doesn't go well, if he starts out April 1 for 45, then it's a performance-based business, and you say so long. But if Vinny Capra takes his chance and runs with it, then you have a different story. You have a controllable player in Caleb Durbin with all of his option years remaining. These are the things at play right now for the Crew. We know Reese is going to get every day at-bats at first base. And we know Reese asked Pat Murphy, I want to play 150 games this year. That's a great sign. Now, not all 150 games are going to be at first base, but Reese is going to be at first base 75% of those games. Keep that in mind, that if you have first base as a feather in your cap, like a Tyler Black, like a Mark Canha, you're not going to get much defensively there. We'll monitor how that's going to all shake out. But in this way too early peak, I know some folks have a bad taste in their mouth in the way that Oliver Dunn left the Brewers last year. I would encourage you to just enter the rest of this camp with an open mind, because I personally have been impressed with what I've been seeing from Oliver Dunn. There is some bat speed there. There is some loud contact there. He's making all the plays he's supposed to at third. He had a misplay today. I'll give him, no one's perfect, but he also made a really nice play to his right. He can handle third base. I have no doubt in that. And it kind of thinks back to last year when he was splitting it with Sal Frelick, and we didn't know what the Brewers had with Joey Ortiz. Oliver Dunn looks even more improved at third base than he did when he arrived in camp last year. That's just my 2 cents on how I see the infield shaking out right now. Let's shift gears. Let's talk about the bullpen. Let's talk about a very specific pitch, the yo-yo, Craig Yoho. We've seen him pitch a couple of times. Might see him pitch again this weekend. We have a conversation, some scrum, some cut with Craig Yoho. Really appreciated him telling a story. I know Adam McCalvey is writing a piece with some video of that ridiculous changeup too. So we'll talk about Craig coming up next here on 620 WTMJ.
Save on the best quality furniture and mattresses during the President's Day sale at Ken Michaels Furniture. With major discounts from our premier suppliers, you will save big bucks on top brands like Bradenton Young, made in the foothills of the Great Smoky Mountains. Bradenton Young is known for its fine quality leather upholstery. Fjords brings you modern Scandinavian design recliners and sofas, ergonomically engineered for more hip and back support. Norwalk, with American roots that go back over 100 years, specializes in making furniture just for you. Choose the piece, style, fabric, or leather you want, and in just 35 days, we'll deliver your new sofa, chair, or sectional. In stock or special orders are all sale priced. Need a little help putting it all together? At Ken Michaels Furniture, our design staff is ready to help you with your purchases, and it's free. Stop in today and save now during the President's Day sale at Ken Michaels Furniture in Brookfield, Greenfield, or downtown Milwaukee.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
It's Brewers Weekly on WTMJ.
I'm Dominic Cotroneo. Nate Rilling is our producer, and you are listening. Thanks for joining us. So we've got about 30 more minutes of a big content bonanza of a week here. If you've missed any of our shows, we had shows on Monday and Wednesday, same length, 8 to 10. You can catch them in the podcast feed, Brewers All Access, wherever you get your podcasts. You can find some great interviews there. Reese Hoskins, Aaron Ashby. We had Matt Arnold on earlier today. We had Joey Ortiz. We had Jacob Mizorowski. We had Brandon Woodruff. It's been very fun so far in camp. Now let's talk about another guy that is in his first big league camp, and it's Craig Yoho. If you haven't seen the Craig Yoho changeup, I tweeted it. It's also in my notebook story from last week about his changeup and about how disgusting it really is. And it does look eerily similar to one airbender changeup. But I think the leader in the clubhouse right now for the nickname for Yoho's changeup is the Yo-Yo. I mean, kind of a low-hanging fruit. Maybe we can find a better one. But I think it works pretty well because it moves like a left-handed curveball. It moves like a yo-yo. He's got it on a string. You've heard all the cliches before. But I thought it was really interesting. The backstory about Yoho is that he was a two-way player in college, but it didn't go well. And in a little bit, we're going to play through his injury history, but he was just tinkering. He always had a great arm. He was just tinkering, trying to figure out a new pitch, trying to figure out how to properly throw a changeup, because before he figured this out, it was not exactly the best of changeups.
I don't remember who it was, or I was just watching YouTube videos like how people think about their changeups, and I was just trying to get out of the center of the baseball, just so that way at least at the end of the day it's coming off kind of the side, and so that kind of helps get a little bit of that horizontal. Like when I first started throwing it was like 10, 15 vert still, but it had a lot of arms head around, so I was like, okay, that's a good place to start. And then eventually I was able to kind of get over the top and get that kind of top spin to get that depth, and so it was just like, oh, like I saw that move, okay, so that's a good adjustment. And it's like, okay, like can I? And I'm the first, however many, probably didn't even hit the net that I was throwing to.
It was pretty funny to think about that. He's trying to locate it, and he's just like way off the bat. And if you don't know what he's talking about there, it was like 10 vert, but a ton of horizontal. That is the amount of movement, vertical and horizontal, on a XY axis to figure out how much movement you're actually getting, right? There's a scatter plot that we see of where that pitch was. So if you can imagine an X-axis and a Y-axis, and if you have, let's say from the pitcher's perspective, 15 inches of horizontal movement to your arm side, right? So that's over on that right side of that X-axis. But then you have only 10, in his opinion, of downward movement. So you put it down in that quadrant in the bottom right. So that's how you're picturing it. And if you can get more vert, more of that topspin to have it dive even more, you've really created something that's really hard to replicate. And that's what I mean, he spins it hard. He doesn't spin it as hard as Devin Williams did, but it's really a spin-based movement. And previously he said he would just really throw a softer fastball, was what his changeup used to be. It was just like an 85-mile-an-hour fastball that he just threw softer. Now there's actual movement and deception to it. I was watching, he showed me an Edgertronic video from his off-season workouts of the way he actually releases and super pronates. And if you're watching on YouTube or on X, I'm exhibiting how you would pronate. If you take your right hand, right, if you're listening along, and imagine trying to flex your wrist to the right with your right hand, where your pinky is trying to be horizontal, right, but only moving your wrist to do so. So now imagine throwing a baseball and whipping it that way. So it actually, if you can imagine on a clock, you're throwing that baseball from like 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock. That's the spin axis that we're monitoring with his changeup. You can understand how difficult of a pitch that is. Through all of this, while he's learning this changeup and learning this pitch, he has had a brutal run of injuries while he was in college. He takes a step-by-step of why somebody with a devastating pitch like this fell to the 8th round for the Brewers.
The thing about it is weird because it was always like I was a position player, and then they tried to have me like, oh, like, hey, you can throw hard. Let's try and have you be a pitcher. So there was no like ramp up. It was just like, hey, you just got done playing shortstop today. Let's go have you throw a bullpen. So it was kind of just a bad design of trying to get me to become a two-way kind of. And so my freshman year I got hurt. I missed that 2019. 2020 I was rehabbing, and COVID canceled that season. 2021 I transferred to Indiana, got hurt trying to ramp up there, then rehabbing in 2022 and got hurt playing the field, like just fluke thing, and then 2023 I was fully healthy, and then I've been healthy ever since. So yeah,
it was patience. I mean, we've talked about this before. It's your career is so much about patience and then opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's everybody's career, though. You know, no one's going to go through their whole career completely healthy, you know, and so it's like you got to be able to handle that when it comes, and, you know, obviously have the patience to not, you know, push through it too aggressively. You know, you got to understand your body, and, you know, it's definitely a marathon for baseball. You got, you know, so many days in the season, so many games, and so it's like you got to understand your body, and the off season you're still going to work every day, you know, trying to push yourself, so it's just part of the game.
He's going to be a fascinating case. I would be shocked if he does not make his big league debut at some point in 2025. Now, performance will dictate whether or not he breaks camp with the Brewers. He's not immediately being anointed a closer job because he has one sneaky great changeup. And in case you're not familiar with the numbers from a season ago, they're certainly eye-popping as he rocketed through the Brewers system last season. Across 3 levels, start of the year in High A, Wisconsin, only needed 16 appearances there, 18 in Double A Biloxi, 14 more in Triple A Nashville. So 48 games, an 0.94 ERA. I will read that again, an 0.94 ERA. That is just 6 earned runs in 57 2/3 innings. And in those 57 2/3 innings, 101 strikeouts, a whip under 1. Only 23 walks. I mean, is it a little inflated? Slightly, but you take it when you have 101 strikeouts in 57 innings. It was really freaky when he was a little older for the age in High A, Wisconsin, that he made those 16 appearances, 20 innings. He only allowed 1 earned run. He struck out 37, an 0.44 ERA as the T-Rats closer. He was just a man amongst boys a little bit there, being a college signee in High A at 24 years old, but what a story it is,
the
right?
fact that I'm still here playing baseball, it's like I want to write the craziest story that's like almost like you read it and you can't believe it. So, yeah, I take a lot of pride in that.
He's a good old kid from Indiana, and really looking forward to getting to know him more throughout the year. Appreciate him spending some time with us in the media. With that as our introduction, let's talk a little bit more about the bullpen, shall we? That's coming up next on 620 WTMJ.
With the ability to market luxury homes on a higher scale than ever before, Century 21 Benefit Realty has taken a huge step forward to tap into a global network of buyers. Maximum exposure to spotlight your unique home with our fine homes and estates marketing so you can sell it for the highest price. And with no upfront fees and 1.9% real estate commission, you win. This is Angela Calais with Century 21 Benefit Realty, benefit-realty.com, where you pay less for full service. Each office is independently owned and operated. First off, our 1.9% commission structure helps get their foot in the door, and that's why agents like working here. But what they really like is having the strongest marketing tools available, with the resources to help them sell homes at the highest prices to satisfy their clients. Century 21 Benefit Realty offers what agents like most, and that's to help them be successful. If you really want to believe in the business model that you're representing, give me a call. I'm Angela Calais with Century 21 Benefit Realty. Call me, and let's talk about your future. Each office is independently owned and operated.
Tune in on Sundays at 10 a.m. for the AccuNet Mortgage and Realty Show. Join AccuNet's Brian and David Wickard for the most up-to-date information on mortgage trends, along with timely news on the real estate market. The housing market is in flux, but the national headlines don't often fit local market conditions. Find out what's really happening on the front lines of real estate and mortgage financing in Wisconsin and make better decisions by tuning in every Sunday at 10 a.m. The AccuNet Mortgage and Realty Show with Brian and David Wickard on WTMJ.
Just like most cars and trucks can't run without oil, no person can function without food. That's why through March 1st, the Auto Dealers of Metro Milwaukee is contributing $1 from every oil change to Feeding America, Eastern Wisconsin. Every dollar provides 3 healthy meals. Over the past 14 years, Adam has provided more than 2.6 million meals to people in southeast Wisconsin. And now the need is greater than ever. Find a participating Adam dealer near you at adamm.com.
It's Brewers Weekly on WTMJ.
With that introduction, let's talk about Craig Yoho's role and how he could fit in this Brewers bullpen. I'm Dom Cotroneo. We saw Trevor McGill make his spring debut today. Gave up a homer, but otherwise, get the body moving, seeing how it goes. Also, congrats to Trevor McGill's best man, Jake Knapp. Shot a 59 yesterday at PGA National. There you go. There's a way to localize a national story. But the way things look right now for the bullpen, the Brewers are going to carry 5 starters. There's not really been a conversation about the potential of 6, which means you're going to have 8 men in the bullpen. Is Connor Thomas going to be somebody that makes the team and then you have to kind of sink or swim if you're going to keep him? Is Tyler Alexander going to be the swingman role as a lefty? I mean, Fangraphs, sometimes this roster projection gets it wrong, but right now Fangraphs has 4 lefties in the Brewers, bullpen, where it says Jared Koenig, yes, Brian Hudson, yes, and then Tyler Alexander or Connor Thomas are like, all right, well, I mean, one of them's probably going to be sticking around, but other candidates that could be in that bullpen are pretty much all right-handed, the realistic ones. I know you got Tom Pannone who's lefty and Bruce Zimmerman who's lefty, but they don't have options, and they're also non-roster invitees, so they're not going to be making the team unless they blow the doors off the place. But Elvin Rodriguez pitched very, very, very well on Thursday. His first extended spring action. He's somebody that can give you multiple innings if need be. Last year with Yakult, he had 32 games in the bullpen in the NPB. 45 innings, and there's a couple of multi-innings in there, but nothing crazy. He was more of a closer with them, but still, he was very impressive. A 1.80 ERA last season for Elvin, and he had a couple of strikeouts against the Baby Royals yesterday, or on Thursday, I should say, as he made his spring debut. I should say he struck out the side. I knew it was more than 2, so yeah, he struck out the side yesterday. If there's a player that maybe isn't on the forefront of people's mind that is going to be a major factor in this bullpen, I think it's him. I do think it's Elvin Rodriguez, and you can work with that as you may. He does have an option remaining, too. Keep that in mind. He's already on the 40-man. He's got 2 option years remaining. You've got a couple of other guys that are on the 40-man, but for different reasons. Like Abner Uribe is not going to be breaking camp with the Brewers because of his suspension, and the Brewers will likely use his final option year this year to decide what they want to do with him. And then next year, you're faced with the conundrum of, okay, are we able to keep Abner Uribe? Grant Anderson, he is starting over the weekend. Again, he's an optionable. He's a depth piece. Grant Wolfram, a lefty, but hasn't even made his big league debut yet. So Elvin is certainly ahead of those guys on the depth chart in my eyes. And another thing to keep in mind is DL Hall. Is DL Hall going to ramp up as a starter or as a reliever? We do not know the answer to that yet, and that could also be dictated by the end of camp because we are far from out of the minefield of pitching injuries this time of year. Spring training in the first 2 weeks of the regular season is where all of these buried mines are lurking of elbows and shoulders and lats like we've already seen from DL Hall. The good news for DL Hall, he got through a big workout yesterday that was very lat-centric, as the lat that is injured is his left lat. He was explaining to me today that it's more on the finish of his pitch. He can bring the ball up, he can release the baseball, but as soon as he tries to get finish on his pitches, that's when he felt the lat when it first got injured. However, yesterday, he's going through overhead slams, he's going through lat pull downs, he's doing it all, and he did not feel any pain. And he feels great in that regard. They are going to take things very, very slow with him, especially after what J.B. Bukowskis is now going through with his torn lat, and he's out for the regular season as he's going to go to surgery. DL says, all right, I'm going to take my time with this one, make sure we're okay. He could, best case scenario, start playing catch again next week. And that would give him 3 weeks to opening day. Is that enough time to build up as a reliever? Potentially. Or do they want to keep him back and build him up as a starter? So that means the Brewers could use Aaron Ashby, could use Logan Henderson, could use Chad Patrick in that fifth spot. 3 weeks is just simply not enough time to build up as a starter in DL Hall's case. We'll monitor if he's going to be in the bullpen. I suggested as such before we left for spring training when we found out that he had a strained lat and was going to be missing a few weeks and be a few weeks behind. But we've kind of been saying this, scouts have been saying this for a long time with DL Hall. It's like, if the dude stays healthy, he can be a really good starter. But now it's at the point where he hasn't been healthy. And his stuff can play up out of the bullpen, left-handed. He can get a couple more ticks of velo. He feels healthy. He was saying he was feeling great. And it's just unfortunate timing with the way that the lat went down for him. Another guy that I'm really excited to watch a little bit more of, and I've said his name a handful of times, is Nick Mears. I think Nick Mears is going to be a very important piece of this bullpen. And I'll put my hand up if I'm wrong on this. If he has a struggling first half, he doesn't have any options remaining. And the Brewers gave up a couple of pieces, but they made a move that they had to make. And I can't wait to joke with him. How many times have you watched that strikeout of the side, especially the strikeout of Pete Alonso in Game 3, where he looked like he was going to pop a blood vessel popping off the mound? So he's going to be a big piece of this too. So don't forget about Nick Mears. So as we look at this bullpen, the main things I'm going to be watching. What's Elvin Rodriguez's role going to be? Is Connor Thomas going to stay or go in his Rule 5 conundrum? Is Tyler Alexander automatically the swingman? I imagine Elvis Peguero will be optioned unless he, again, starts to find more form. I don't think Abner Uribe is going to break camp with the team as well, which, we said this on Wednesday, if Connor Thomas gets removed from the 40-man roster, being returned in the Rule 5 draft, that can open up a spot for a guy like Craig Yoho. Yoho is not on the 40-man. He would need a corresponding move to get on. So we'll monitor. We got 4 weeks. In the words of Pat Murphy, we'll find out soon. Let's talk about the starters, though. And this is a yin and a yang, and we know 4 from the 5th still to be determined. Back with more after this on WTMJ.
I don't have to tell you that a lot of dust and other junk collects in your ductwork. And it doesn't just sit there. It's blowing around in your home. And that jeopardizes your home health. The commercial industrial duct cleaning system we use at Quality darn near sucked the shirt right off our tech the first time he used it. Believe me, not everybody has this powerful of a system. It's unlike any other. At Quality, you get the best duct cleaning, period. So call Quality first for your duct cleaning needs.
For the signature service you deserve.
Whether it's 24/7 emergency service or it's just time to replace your furnace, at Quality we'll be out so fast you won't even notice the heat being off. And if you're buying a high-efficiency furnace from Armstrong or Carrier, you'll qualify for state and federal tax rebates that'll pay for a big chunk of the cost. This is Anthony Zanevsky from Quality, where you'll get the signature service you deserve.
Call Quality for the signature service you deserve.
Call Quality, heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric.
This is Matt Meitner, owner of Sit Means Sit Dog Training. Do you find yourself talking to your dog but feel like she's not listening to you?
Bella, sit!
Are you constantly repeating yourself but she's not following your directions?
Sit! Sit!
Frustrating, isn't it? At Sit Means Sit Dog Training, we want to help you have a happy, confident, and obedient dog, and we also want to make the training process an enjoyable and worthwhile experience. Contact Sit Means Sit today to schedule a free consultation so we can create a customized training program so you are able to have the dog you want and deserve.
Sit Means Sit Dog Training. Sorry, we don't train husbands, wives, or kids.
Finding the special healthcare resources families need just got easier. Wisconsin Wayfinder Children's Resource Network helps kids with delays, disabilities, special healthcare needs, and mental health conditions. Call toll-free 877-947-2929. Ask questions, get answers. Connect today toll-free 877-947-2929. Sponsored by the Wisconsin Department of Health Services.
For WTMJ contest rules, visit WTMJ.com/contests.
It's like being trapped in a cage. And I know that sounds dramatic, but your breathing triangle problem has got you trapped. And once you're freed, you're going to be able to live the life that you're missing out on. Now, this can simply mean experiencing the true pleasure of breathing freely. It will mean better sleep and more energy. And the worry of this problem any more affecting your life is going to be gone. Because in almost every case, when Advent has solved a breathing triangle problem, it's a one and done. Because we're not in the business of delivering Band-Aids. We want to fix your nasal breathing problem for good. We don't want you to be a lifelong patient. We want you to be our next success story.
Isn't it time you break free from that cage? Take the next step. Go to adventknows.com to schedule your appointment, because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better.
Breathe well with simple solutions. AdventKnows.com.
Results may vary. Most insurance accepted.
Brewers Weekly on WTMJ.
Few minutes left. We're going to the top of the hour. Let's talk starters now. We just talked relievers. Let's talk starters. I'm Dom Cotroneo. Thanks for staying up late with us here tonight in Wisconsin. And spring training's in full swing right now as Brewers Weekly rolling on. Starters. Freddie Peralta opening day. We know that. Point blank, we know it. It's all good. Nestor Cortez, Tobias Myers. Those are the next guys that you're going to be relying on the most innings. Aaron Savali in that list too. Not necessarily in any order. But if I'm looking at this rotation, right, those four guys, as long as they perform, right, like those four guys in a good year should give you at least 150 innings if they perform. In the event you have less than 150 innings from each of those four guys, you've got depth behind them. And you heard Matt Arnold talk about it earlier in the show. There's more pitching depth this year with guys on the 40-man. Logan Henderson, Chad Patrick, who turned some heads today with some strikeouts. And if you want to keep Ashby in the starting role, if you want to keep DL Hall in the starting role when he comes back from injury, they can continue to buy time for Brandon Woodruff. And Woodruff is going to need time. I personally think he won't arrive until he feels ready. We need to see some 95s, 96s from Woodruff. I'm not saying he needs to sit there, but we need to see him touch it. And the Brewers are going to give him as much time, as much runway as he needs to get to that point, because as he told us when we played the audio on Monday, judge me by my second half, not by my first half. So Woodruff is something we're monitoring. And then, oh, by the way, you don't need him this season, but Robert Gasser continues to progress. He's past 100. I think he's at 120 feet now of playing catch. His plan is still to be back with the team, hopefully by the end of August. Maybe a more likely scenario is the first week of September as he recovers from traditional Tommy John surgery he had last June. That would put him on a 14-month recovery from big league time to big league time. Granted, there's rehab and there's stuff that has to happen between then and there, but we just listed off all the guys the Brewers have that they can choose from. And if the guys that are meant to be the horses for the team, right, the pending free agents like Nestor and Savali are, and of course Woodruff, but Woodruff's a different story. Nestor and Savali, they're going to want to prove themselves. They're going to want to throw innings. It's a gamble. And you hope that they can put out their best foot forward and say, yes, I'm ready to go and ready to test free agency, because pitchers are the most expensive thing on the market. Starting pitchers are the most expensive thing on the market. Innings are currency. And quietly, the Brewers have some innings eaters. Last year, Freddie Peralta got to 200 strikeouts. He led the team in innings and is going to be the guy that gets the most starts because he's starting on opening day. 173 innings this past season. Nestor Cortez Jr., right? He pitched 174 innings last season, the most he's ever pitched in his career. I know how it ended in the World Series. He was not quite, personally, Aaron Boone put him out to dry. That was a terrible spot to bring in Nestor. I would have brought in Tim Hill, but I digress. Nestor is going to be a massive piece and give you plenty of length out of the rotation. Aaron Savali last year, he made every start he was asked between the two teams, between the Rays and between the Brewers. He threw 161 innings last season. And Tobias Myers, granted, there was an option in there, and there's a finding his footing and finding his role, and yet in 27 games, he still threw 138 innings. So you throw in 8 more starts in there to make it more like 30 to 33 starts for him. If you can just imagine, let's say he averages on the low end 5 2/3 innings per start, right? So let's say we give him 8 more starts times 5.6. That's 45 more innings for him, which would put him at 180 plus innings. There is a lot of depth here of guys that they expect to get length out of with good health histories. I think the Brewers rotation and the guys waiting in the wings to come up. Don't forget about KC Hunt, too. He had a great year. He was a co-minor league pitcher of the year. There is some talent on the way, man. I think the Brewers rotation is in a great spot. And it's quite frankly, I would say the Brewers outfield, Brewers catching core, and the starting rotation have the least question marks around them heading into the rest of spring training. That's just my 2 cents about the amount of innings that they could have if everything goes according to plan and the depth they have ready to replace it. It's a good spot to be in. All right, exhale. We got one last break to hit, and then we'll say goodbye on what has been a thrilling week of covering Brewers baseball down here in spring training. Back with more after our last break on WTMJ.
A buck doesn't buy much unless you're spending it at Griffin. For just $1 over cost, you can buy brand new tires from us. This is Jim Griffin. Any major brand, $1 over our cost with free tire repair and lifetime rotation. We'll even show you the invoice to prove it. Our only requirements, we put them on for you. Buy one or the whole set. The dollar deal from Griffin. Milwaukee, Waukesha, Fort Atkinson, and Jefferson. Griffin. The buck stops here. The deals on tires don't. That's Griffin.
Not combinable with other tire offers.
Team up with the Brewers for an epic company event this season. Gather your crew of just 15 or more for a Brewers group outing and trade weekday meetings for a fun-filled day at American Family Field. Featuring options like tailgate spaces, all-inclusive areas, seating blocks, and more. Plus, Brewers ticket representatives will make planning your event easy, as they'll be your concierge while you book your event. Start planning your company outing today at brewers.com/groups.
Traffic is brought to you by Rejuvenix, your non-surgical joint therapy experts.
This statement has not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
When it comes to my lifestyle and diet, I don't always make the smartest choices.
Touchdown! Woo! Hey, how about another round and some more chips?
But when it comes to taking care of my liver, I do make one very smart choice. Active liver tablets from New Nordic. I used to have real issues with my liver, and at my last checkup, my doc was concerned about my numbers. But since adding a once-a-day active liver tablet, my gut's better, I feel great, and my doctor's happy. I ask a lot of my liver, so the least I can do to say thanks is a daily dose of Active Liver.
You ask a lot of your liver, so give it the support it needs with Active Liver. You can find Active Liver at Amazon.com, or for a volume discount, visit NewNordicUSA.com. Go to NordicUSA.com, Amazon, or ask for Active Liver at your local CVS. New year, new you. New Nordic.
This is Brewers Weekly on WTMJ.
Okay, we did it. They said it couldn't be done. I don't think anybody actually said that. We're at the end of the show, end of this week. Again, said it earlier, very grateful to call this my job and put a microphone in big leaguers' faces and get to pick their brains as that's crazy. Tell 9-year-old Dom that was going to happen. If you missed anything, Brewers All Access is where you get all of the archived podcasts. We had great guests this week. My thanks to all of them. The reason I bring all this up is because we're not going to have another Brewers Weekly for a while. In fact, as I see it right now, as I'm looking at my schedule, the Bucks play So next Thursday, the Brewers are playing a night game here in spring training. So that'll be carried here on WTMJ. No Brewers Weekly for us. Then the Bucks play Thursday games on the 13th and the 20th, which means we won't have another Brewers Weekly until the week of opening day. Now, details to come. We will have another show, longer extended show like these were, the week leading into opening day. Date to be determined, Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, as your season preview as the Brewers get ready to head to New York City to take on the Yankees. So keep an eye out on social media for that. I'll be with you again for the regular season when it comes to post-game shows, and we'll have that schedule out shortly too. I'm just really, really grateful. I think this is super fun, and I hope we all learned something along these lines, and I get great feedback from all of this incredible fan base that appreciates what we're doing, and so we're going to keep doing it. That's how I feel. I think you can follow me on social media at Dom_Cotroneo on Twitter, at DomCBaseball on Instagram. I need to be better on Instagram, admittedly. My TikTok's the same as my Twitter. Maybe I should be better on TikTok, too. There's a few thousand Gen Zers that are following me there that I don't know what to do with. But with all that being said, I just wanted to take a minute to say thank you once again. And then finally, we are going to be broadcasting tomorrow, Rangers and Brewers from American Family Fields of Phoenix. 2:10 Central Time is first pitch, 2 o'clock airtime here on WTMJ. Rangers in town. Then Sunday in Goodyear, same time, 2:10, 2 o'clock airtime. And then Monday, it's a night game again in Goodyear. I believe that game is actually going to be over on MLB.com, or rather on WTK. I got to double check that one, so I apologize. Then we finally get our first off day on Tuesday of spring training, and I can guarantee you can find me on a golf course somewhere down here in the valley. Thank you to everybody who has been listening. I will see y'all at the ballpark tomorrow. A massive thank you to our producer, Nate Rilling, who has been helping us out, hit and play, keeping us organized. I'm Dom Cotroneo. Keep on swinging.
WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee from the Annex Wealth Management Studios. This is News Radio WTMJ, a good karma brand station.
Hi, folks. This is Hank Albert, owner of BBC Lighting. At BBC, we sell all the top brands of lights and ceiling fans, such as Visual Comfort, Tech, Schoenbeck Crystal, and hundreds more. We get every brand, and our prices are the lowest. I guarantee it. In our award-winning showroom, you'll also find factory closeouts with lights and fans priced well below their original cost. If it's lampshades or repairs you need, we do all that too. There's something for everyone at BBC, including fun for the kids and our famous free popcorn. We're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, Saturday, 10 to 4, and located at 20th and St. Paul Avenue.